It is like a scientifically proven, totally undeniable fact that the absolute second human beings develop a crush. Um, our collective IQs just drop by about 80 points.
Oh, completely. It's a free fall.
Right. Like love doesn't just make us blind, it makes us look incredibly, just astonishingly stupid on national television.
I mean, we completely bypass all logic. We just mute our survival instincts.
Exactly. We will literally ignore a man holding like a neon sign that says, I will systematically dismantle your peace of mind. And instead we're like, oh my God, I love the font he chose for that sign.
We will happily leap right into the emotional meat grinder, all for the dopamine hit of a text back.
It's the promise of absolute reality TV madness. And honestly, we are all just helpless victims to it. So, babes, welcome back. By the time you hear this, it'll be Friday at least. So, babes, happy weekend.
Happy weekend, everyone. And I am formally announcing to the Snark Squad right now that the peach white sangria is officially on deck.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It is poured, it is perfectly chilled, and honestly, it is entirely necessary for the intense behavioral analysis we are about to unpack today.
And we really, really need to savor every single sip of this, you guys, because there is a very real chance we are heading into a completely dry weekend at the Dude Ranch.
The sheer delusion that we are going to survive a dude ranch without alcohol is it's a fascinating study in misplaced optimism.
I am already dreading it.
Like, do horses appreciate a nice vintage? Because I feel like I'm going to need to negotiate with the livestock to get a decent Pinot Grigio out there.
Good luck with that.
I cannot analyze equine behavior with a clear head. I just can't.
I am already emotionally mourning the impending lack of cocktails. Like, the peach flavor in this sangria right now, it is immaculate.
It really hits different.
It is giving main character summer energy. It tastes like poor decisions, high SPF, and like the illusion of control, and I am just obsessed.
But out there, in the dirt, with the hay and the 5 a.m. wake-up calls.
I don't know if I can physically do it. This drink right here is my emotional support beverage for the weekend, and once it's gone, I might actually perish.
Well, we're going to be out there analyzing herd dynamics the exact same way we analyze these islanders. But for now, we have the sangria, we have the air conditioning, and we have the drama.
Thank God for the air conditioning.
Today, our mission is to basically treat this villa as a sociological petri dish. We are looking at human behavior when placed in high-stress, romantically isolated environments.
And extracting the actual mechanisms behind why these people are acting so erratically.
Exactly. And since it is finally the weekend and we are studying human behavior, it's time for everyone's weekend love horoscope.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to give you your Love Island-coded predictions, so grab your sangria, sit back, and let's get into the psychology of the stars because things are about to get messy.
Let's start with Aries. So Aries, you're going to pull someone for a chat who is completely wrong for you, purely for the adrenaline.
Of course they are. From a behavioral standpoint, your baseline dopamine levels require constant stimulation. Peace just feels painfully boring to you. You know it's a terrible idea. Your friends know it's a terrible idea. But you are actively choosing chaos to feel alive.
Wait, that is so spot on. Okay, Taurus. You are stubbornly ignoring 3 giant red flags right now simply because they have nice hair.
I mean, we've all been there.
You are looking at a walking disaster, like a literal parade of cognitive dissonance and thinking, I can fix him, his fate is just too clean. You are valuing physical symmetry over emotional safety. Stop it. Put the phone down.
Put it down, Taurus. All right, Gemini, you are on the verge of accidentally sending a very risky text to your main roster guy while thinking about the backup.
Oh no, not the wrong chat.
You're playing a dangerous game of emotional roulette. You're utilizing what psychologists call a scarcity mindset by keeping multiple options warm. But listen, autocorrect is not going to save you this weekend.
It never does. Cancer. Oh, sweet. Emotionally poor as Cancer.
Yeah.
You are going to be crying on a daybed because your situationship looked at someone else.
Just looked.
They didn't even speak to them. They just perceived another human being in their peripheral vision, and your evolutionary mate-guarding instincts have flared up so intensely that you are currently planning a revenge outfit.
Leo. You are exuding main character energy this weekend, but unfortunately, it's the kind that results in an incredibly public, messy decision.
The worst kind.
You are seeking validation through grandiosity. That means you're going to stand up in the middle of a crowded bar and loudly announce a boundary you have zero intention of keeping just for the audience reaction.
Virgo. You are overanalyzing a one-word text until you convince yourself to self-sabotage. They replied, okay. And you have spent 3 hours dissecting the syntax,
Punctuation.
the timing. And if there was a period at the end of that, okay, your analytical brain has created a threat that literally doesn't exist, and now you're packing your bags and moving to the woods to avoid hypothetical rejection.
Classic Virgo. Libra, you are flirting with absolute danger just to keep the peace.
Oh.
Your aversion to conflict is so strong that you're agreeing to go on a date with someone who uses 3-in-1 body wash simply because you didn't want to make things awkward in the group chat. You are prioritizing social harmony over your own basic standards.
I am screaming, Scorpio. You are plotting the downfall of your bestie's relationship just because you're bored.
That is so dark.
You saw a micro-expression on their boyfriend's face, like a slight pulling of the facial muscles indicating deception, and now you are compiling a whole dossier of evidence. Channel that intense investigative energy into something productive, please.
Sagittarius, you are fleeing a secure commitment the absolute second someone says they want more affection.
Running for the hills.
You hear the word cuddle, and your avoidant attachment style immediately perceives it as a threat to your autonomy. Your flight response activates, and you're already looking up flights to another continent.
Capricorn. You are scheduling a 15-minute emotional breakdown between meetings.
Honestly, efficient.
You have compartmentalized your trauma so effectively that you have penciled in cry over emotionally unavailable man from 2:15 to 2:30 p.m. right before your Zoom call. It is highly efficient, but deeply bleak.
Aquarius. You are ghosting a perfectly good match to pursue someone who literally told you to sleep on the other side of the bed.
Why do they do this?
You are attracted to the emotional distance because it requires zero real vulnerability from you. You love the rejection. It validates your core belief that you are inherently misunderstood.
And finally, Pisces. You're delusionally romanticizing a guy who lies straight to your face.
Straight to your face.
He is employing Machiavellian manipulation tactics like telling you he's not looking at anyone else while he's actively holding someone else's hand, and you're completely bypassing the reality of his actions to write a poem about his theoretical potential.
Well, if any of those behavioral assessments hit a little too close to home, just, take a sip of the sangria. We are observing these patterns, not judging them. We've all been participants in the circus at some point.
We really have.
Yeah.
Honestly, observing this social experiment every single night has only reinforced one incredibly depressing reality.
Which is?
Love, especially when filmed 24/7, is absolute chaos.
Yeah.
It is a disaster zone of competing egos and, totally unhealed attachment wounds.
It defies all rational logic. I mean, if we connect this to the bigger picture, why does every single conversation in this luxurious, isolated environment somehow end in tears?
Every single one.
It's a gorgeous tropical location. They have zero external responsibilities. Their meals are completely catered, and yet they are operating in a state of constant hypervigilance. Everyone is sobbing by the fire pit by 9 p.m.
Because the isolation amplifies every minor slight into a life or death scenario.
Yeah.
And because everyone is completely bypassing the most obvious neon glowing red flags in favor of instant gratification.
Exactly.
And it makes me reflect on my own dating app adventures, which, let me tell you, have not inspired any confidence whatsoever in the human condition.
Oh, don't even get me started on the apps.
I am swiping through a sea of men holding fish, as if hunter-gatherer competence is what I'm looking for in 2026. Men who list sarcasm as a personality trait.
A red flag in itself.
And men who say they want a traditional woman, but then immediately suggest splitting the bill at a chain restaurant.
The absolute paradox of modern dating. Honestly, maybe the safest, most emotionally secure relationship right now is the one you and I both have with dentistry.
Wait, dentistry?
Yes. At least with dentistry, there is a clear transactional expectation. You open your mouth, they judge your flossing habits based on empirical evidence, they drill a hole, and you leave.
Okay, cavities are honestly more predictable than navigating a situationship. You eat sugar, the bacteria produce acid, you get a cavity.
Yeah.
Cause and effect.
Exactly.
You date a man in his late 20s who describes himself as an entrepreneur, you get a complex and 3 months of anxiety. It's practically science.
It is arguably the only reliable, straightforward transaction left in modern society.
Right.
No subtext, just fluoride.
Babes, enough about our own romantic disasters.
Huh.
Let's get into the villa. Because, my God, the absolute psychological warfare that took place in this episode requires immediate dissection.
We absolutely must begin with the immediate aftermath of Sincere kissing the new bombshell, Saul.
I am still recovering from this.
Let's really analyze Sincere's strategy here, which is essentially A masterclass in strategic omission and, honestly, geographical compartmentalization.
Okay, let's unpack this. So the episode basically picks right up with the fallout. Sincere was in the speakeasy, which, for anyone not intensely studying the geography of this villa, is that hidden, tucked-away room designed for secret conversations.
Right.
He kisses Saul there, and Melanie knows something is fundamentally wrong. She literally says she walked in, he was adjusting his pants.
The visual alone is deeply alarming. But let's look at Sincere's absolute lack of self-preservation or strategic lying. When cornered by a suspicious partner, the logical move for a deceiver is to minimize the damage by controlling the narrative.
Which he fails at completely.
Melanie confronts him. She asks him point blank, utilizing direct interrogation, how many times they kissed.
And he looks her right in the eye and says twice. He tells her they only kissed twice in the speakeasy. He completely intentionally omits the kisses that happened in Say Less.
Which is a totally different room.
Yes. He is literally compartmentalizing his cheating based on the physical location. He's thinking, well, she only asked about the speakeasy, so the Say Less kisses are legally off the record.
It's the sheer audacity of the omission. It's a classic manipulation tactic. You answer the specific parameter of the question to technically avoid lying while completely violating the spirit of the truth.
So slimy.
And then he pacifies her. He tells Melanie she is his number one, that he doesn't want to explore Saul, and that it was just a kiss and meant nothing. And then he employs a physical grounding technique.
Oh God, this part.
He gets her to straddle him on the daybed to visually mark his territory, knowing full well Saul is watching from across the yard.
I was screaming at the television. He is literally looking at the camera, tracking Saul with his eyes, while Melanie is physically on top of him, experiencing the ultimate cognitive dissonance.
She thinks she just saved her relationship.
Exactly. She feels physically close to him, so she assumes she's emotionally close to him. And then, the absolute second he gets the chance, he immediately pulls Saul up to soul ties.
Soul ties. We have to discuss the architecture of soul ties for a second.
It's a trap.
It is the most public, highly elevated, highly visible location in the entire villa. It is a literal panopticon. Everyone can see you. Taking someone to soul ties is a loud, undeniable social statement.
It's a declaration.
And here's where Sincere's behavior shifts from standard reality TV opportunism to something deeply, deeply Machiavellian. They are up there, and Saul starts opening up to him about her late father. It is a very vulnerable, heavy conversation involving real grief.
And what is Sincere doing? He is not mirroring her emotions. He's not offering verbal comfort. He is physically escalating.
It's so hard to watch.
He is caressing her face. He is stroking her arm. He's whispering in her ear. He is not absorbing a single word this woman is saying about her trauma. He is just plotting the precise geometric angle for his next kiss.
It highlighted the massive gap between tactile comfort and actual emotional presence. He was completely checked out emotionally, but extremely tuned in physically.
Completely.
When someone is sharing trauma, the appropriate empathetic response is stillness and active listening. Sincere used her vulnerability as a loophole to initiate physical touch without romantic resistance. It was a highly calculated maneuver. And meanwhile, downstairs,
Melanie is spiraling. She is experiencing a total breakdown of her reality. She is watching this happen from the terrace.
from a terrace, yeah.
She is watching the man who just told her 20 minutes ago that she was his number one, the man she just straddled, taking another woman to the designated romance balcony and touching her for over an hour. Melanie is crashing out.
Her brain cannot reconcile his words with his highly visible actions.
And this is where the sociological dynamic of the villa becomes actively detrimental. Because Anaya, who is usually the voice of reason, falls victim to groupthink and decides to play therapist.
And she gives the absolute worst advice you could possibly give to someone in a state of emotional hyperarousal.
Anaya completely hypes her up. Melanie is pacing. She's like, I can't take it. My heart is pounding. Should I go up there and pull him? And Anaya is like, yes, go pull him. Stand your ground.
Terrible.
What are you doing, Anaya?
Sure.
You do not send a highly emotional, spiraling woman up a flight of stairs to confront a man who is currently massaging a bombshell. You are sending her to her social execution.
Anaya was feeding the delusion rather than de-escalating the crisis. It was a complete failure of the bystander intervention model. So Melanie physically starts marching up those stairs, propelled by pure adrenaline and terrible advice, ready to blow up her entire life on national television.
I was covering my eyes.
And then the actual hero of the sociological experiment emerges, Casey. Casey physically runs. He sprints to the stairs to stop Melanie. He says, "No, where are you going? Nowhere. Come back down here." He literally acts as a physical barrier between Melanie and her own self-destruction.
He saved her. He really did.
He assessed the threat level accurately. He saw a train tumbling off a cliff, and he threw his body on the tracks. He understood the visual impact of what was happening upstairs.
He knew.
He knew that if Melanie went up there, she was going to see Sincere's legs intertwined with Saul's, and she was going to have a meltdown that would shatter her social standing in that house permanently. He saved her dignity.
It was so deeply protective. But here's where I have to play devil's advocate for Melanie a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I know everyone watching thinks she's acting completely unhinged, but her physiological response is completely justified. Sincere is actively gaslighting her. He is constructing one reality to her face. I only want you, I'm not pursuing her. And then physically living out a completely different, contradictory reality in front of the entire house.
That is true.
When your reality is constantly being subverted by the person you trust, it induces a state of temporary insanity. You can't blame her for losing it.
I see the psychological toll that takes, absolutely. But we have to look at the broader behavioral patterns here. Yes, Sincere is employing terrible manipulative tactics. But let's rewind the tape.
Oh, here we go.
Melanie played in his face during the challenge first. She engaged in retaliatory behavior. She was kissing other men, grabbing Corbin's neck, and acting like she didn't know who she was kissing while blindfolded. She disrespected him publicly first.
I see what you're saying, but it was a structured challenge. The parameters of the game dictated that behavior. It wasn't organic cheating.
It was a structured challenge, yes, but she weaponized the parameters of the game to humiliate him and test his boundaries. And more importantly, she is willfully ignoring the incredibly loud, foundational actions of a man who told the world and her on day one that his preferred communication style is texting other girls while in a relationship.
He did say that.
Sincere told her who he was. He presented his resume of red flags. She is experiencing sunk cost fallacy. She has invested so much emotional energy into him that she is ignoring the data because she wants the return on her investment.
Oh, it's so frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
But the lying, it's the mechanics of the lying that get me. It's so convoluted and completely unnecessary.
Oh, the lying is completely strategic, albeit poorly executed. Sincere is operating like a Machiavellian reality TV producer right now.
He really is.
He is telling every single cast member a slightly altered version of events to produce maximum chaos and keep himself at the center of the narrative. He tells Melanie he wants her to secure his base.
Right.
He tells Saul he wants to explore her to secure his backup. He tells the boys he's just weighing his options to maintain his status in the male hierarchy. He's managing the edit in real time, but his fatal flaw is underestimating the communication network of the villa. Everyone talks.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's like, just execute a simple truth. The truth causes friction for 5 minutes. The convoluted lie dismantles your credibility for weeks. But speaking of convoluted strategies, we have to pivot to Kenzie's sheer hypocrisy and Corbin's absolute lack of game.
This whole sequence was a fascinating study in the scarcity mindset and female-to-female competition. We start with Kenzie, who is suddenly operating with an inflated sense of social capital because she has a, quote, Thanksgiving buffet of options.
The absolute delusion of the buffet analogy. She has exactly 2 men talking to her, Corbin and the new bombshell Caleb, and she is acting like she is fending off a siege.
The siege of 2.
But the craziest behavioral quirk is when she tells Corbin that she kissed Caleb within 24 hours of Caleb arriving in the villa, mind you. But she justifies it by telling Corbin that while she was kissing Caleb, she was thinking of Corbin.
Which, if we break that down, is a bizarre attempt to mitigate guilt through mental gymnastics. My physical actions were a betrayal, but my cognitive focus was loyal to you.
Make it make sense.
It's an insulting paradox designed to keep Corbin on the hook while she explores the new shiny object.
So Kenzie is actively making out with bombshells. We have established her baseline behavior. Keep that in mind. Because then, downstairs, Melanie decides she needs to reclaim some agency, since Sincere is currently occupied with Saul. So Melanie pulls Corbin for a chat.
And this interaction, it was physically painful to observe. Corbin relies entirely on his physical capital.
He really does.
He is tall, he is conventionally attractive, and he assumes those attributes are a substitute for social skills. He has negative game. He engages in a very dry transactional conversation with Melanie about her wanting a loyal husband, and then, completely devoid of any contextual buildup or romantic tension, he awkwardly asks her for a kiss.
Have a kiss? He asked it like he was asking a barista for an extra napkin.
So robotic.
I was laughing so hard I spilled my sangria. He doesn't flirt, he doesn't charm, he doesn't escalate the conversation. He just states his physical dimensions and expects women to capitulate. But Melanie, and this shows immense emotional growth on her part, declines. She turns the kiss down.
She sets a firm boundary. She articulates that she wants it to be organic, but more crucially, she cites her allegiance to her female friendship. She wants to communicate transparently with Kenzie first, before crossing that physical threshold.
Exactly.
It was actually a textbook example of prioritizing long-term social cohesion over short-term gratification.
Which brings us to the ultimate backlash.
Yeah.
Because Kenzie's communication network alerts her to this chat. She finds out Corbin asked Melanie for a kiss. Melanie even pulls Kenzie aside, utilizing perfect transparency, and says, "Hey, we chatted, he's my type, but I wanted to tell you because we're friends and I respect you."
And Kenzie's reaction defies all logical consistency. She becomes irate. But she doesn't direct her anger at Corbin, the man who initiated the request.
Yeah.
She directs all her venom at Melanie, telling her that she isn't trying hard enough to fix things with sincere.
I was unwell watching this. Kenzie is actively trying to hoard the resources in this villa. You have Caleb, who you were physically intimate with outside of challenges. You have Corbin on layaway.
On layaway, yes.
And the exact second your friend, who is currently being emotionally tortured by her partner, tries to simply converse with one of your backups, you attack the woman.
It is classic misplaced aggression fueled by insecurity. She is blaming Melanie for Corbin's autonomous actions. Corbin is the one who asked for the kiss. But Kenzie attacks Melanie, instructing her to return to her toxic, failing relationship with Sincere purely so Kenzie can maintain her buffet without the threat of female competition.
It's completely breaking the foundational rules of the girls' code. It reeks of entitlement. Kenzie wants the freedom to explore every option, but she demands that everyone else remain locked in their miserable situationships to eliminate market competition.
This raises an important question about the underlying mechanisms driving Kenzie's psychology right now. I don't believe this is pure malice. I argue Kenzie is operating entirely on a trauma response.
Okay, let's hear the theory.
Let's look at the historical context. Zach completely rejected and publicly humiliated her during week 1. She was left single, vulnerable, and facing elimination. Now she finally has 2 men showing interest, and she is terrified of returning to that state of vulnerability.
That makes sense.
She is acting out of a deep-seated fear of scarcity. She is trying to hoard connections to guarantee her survival in the game.
I completely understand the fear of elimination, but fear does not excuse the sheer hypocrisy of her actions. You cannot actively kiss the new arrival and then verbally berate your friend for merely speaking to your secondary option. It's giving very rules for thee, but not for me.
Absolutely.
The double standard that she expects the villa to uphold.
Oh, the double standard is glaring. It's a completely fractured logic system,
Yeah.
which provides a seamless transition into the ultimate case study of contradictory behavior, Gabriel's kissing tour and Bay's masterclass in stoicism.
Oh boy.
Because speaking of people who operate with massive double standards,
Gabriel. My God, the audacity of this man. This man wakes up, stretches, brushes his teeth, looks at the beautiful sunrise, and immediately decides to detonate his own stable relationship.
pretty conscious choice.
He pulls B for a morning debrief and casually confesses that he kissed both of the new bombshells, Jen and Saul. Outside of any structured challenge, just recreational kissing.
What's truly fascinating here is the massive delta between his expectation and the actual reality of the interaction. Gabriel delivers this information to be clearly anticipating a high emotion response.
Oh, he wanted a reaction so badly.
He is seeking a reaction to validate his own desirability. He wants her to cry, or to become territorial, or to aggressively ask which one was better. He is using the bombshells as pawns to manufacture jealousy and boost his own ego.
But B, I am deeply obsessed with B's psychological fortitude. She gives him absolutely nothing. Her facial micro-expressions are completely neutral. She is stone cold.
Flawless execution.
She doesn't elevator pitch. She doesn't lean in. She just looks at him with dead eyes and says, "Thanks for telling me."
It was a beautiful, calculated display of emotional regulation. By refusing to react, she completely starved his ego of the oxygen it was seeking. She refused to participate in the dramatic narrative he was trying to construct. It was a massive power play.
Exactly. Because later in the beach hut, away from him, she literally says, "I compete for medals, not men." and formally diagnoses Gabriel as a walking red flag.
Iconic.
It was iconic behavior. She
Yeah.
didn't let him see her sweat. She didn't validate his behavior. She just quietly categorized him as a liability.
But the irony of Gabriel's behavior is staggering when you analyze his stated preferences versus his revealed preferences. This is a man who spent the earlier days of the experiment loudly claiming he doesn't have a type, and that he's open to deep intellectual connections over superficial traits.
Right.
Yet, the literal second gen, a stereotypically beautiful blonde walks through the door, his higher cognitive functions shut down. He is swooning. He is sucking her face off on the daybed. He proves instantaneously that his stated preference was a lie, and his revealed preference is exactly what you'd expect.
So what does this all mean for their dynamic moving forward? I am genuinely mourning the B and Gabriel ship. They had what appeared to be a solid, secure connection built on mutual respect.
It was the most stable coupling they had.
And Gabriel treated it like it was completely disposable. He treated the villa like a tasting menu, assuming B would just wait for him to finish his appetizers. He threw away a gold medal connection for a cheap thrill.
He fell victim to the illusion of infinite choice. He chased the novel stimulus, and in doing so, completely alienated a high-value partner. It is a textbook case of self-sabotage. Speaking of textbook self-sabotage, we have to examine the absolute wreckage of Bryce and Trinity.
Okay, let me just take a deep, stabilizing breath because the psychology of this storyline got me so highly emotional. It starts with a seemingly simple, incredibly healthy request. Trinity, practicing vulnerability, pulls Bryce aside and communicates clearly.
Which is rare in this environment.
She tells him she really likes him, but she needs more affection. She is asking for a baseline level of physical intimacy to feel secure in the connection.
A perfectly reasonable, securely attached request in a romantic coupling, especially in an accelerated dating environment.
Yes, she is communicating her needs, but Bryce immediately panics. His internal alarms start blaring. He takes this direct, healthy request as a sign that she doesn't actually like him, that the connection feels forced, and that she's trying to manufacture something unnatural.
It's pure projection.
He completely twists her vulnerable words to fit his own internal narrative that relationships are traps.
And here is where the dynamic shifts from standard avoidance to incredibly dark Machiavellian interference. Enter Zach, the villain origin story of the season.
Zach is operating like a covert operative of misery. I can't even...
We need to ruthlessly dissect Zach's strategic manipulation here. Zach occupies the role of Bryce's closest confidant in the house. Bryce approaches Zach with these newly formed doubts about Trinity. In a healthy social dynamic, a friend would offer objective advice or encourage communication.
But not Zach.
Instead, Zach actively validates and amplifies every single paranoid thought Bryce possesses. Zach tells Bryce that Trinity doesn't get his jokes. He implements an isolation tactic, telling Bryce that the core group, meaning Zach, Kata, and Bryce, operates with more synergy when Trinity isn't around.
He is actively triangulating them. He is cutting Trinity out of the social fabric of the villa to make Bryce feel like choosing her means losing his friends.
I will go a step further. I argue that Zach is intentionally destroying his best friend's relationship out of sheer spite and a need for control. Let's look at Zach's baseline. His own connection with Kata is incredibly volatile. Kata has been openly exploring her options with the bombshell Caleb.
She is basically over Zach.
So Zach feels a profound loss of agency in his own romantic life. To compensate, he decides to exert total control over Bryce's relationship. It is the classic misery loves company paradigm executed with tactical precision.
It is so insidious because it works. Bryce lacks the critical thinking skills to see what Zach is doing. Bryce is so susceptible to peer influence that he takes Zach's highly biased advice and decides, you know what, I'm going to pull Kata for a chat.
We must remind everyone of the historical context between Bryce and Kata to truly appreciate the delusion here. Just a few diurnal cycles ago, Bryce attempted to cuddle Kata in a communal sleeping arrangement. Kata literally banished him to the farthest edge of the mattress.
It was so embarrassing.
She constructed a physical barrier out of pillows and explicitly told him not to cross it. She has communicated, both verbally and physically, that she harbors zero romantic interest in him.
And his brain somehow processes that data and concludes, yeah, there's undeniable sexual tension there. I'm going to go for it. It is profoundly embarrassing. He literally walks up to Zach, who is currently coupled with Kata, and says, hey, bro, I'm going to pull your girl for a chat.
And Zach lets him.
Zach doesn't even get mad. He just laughs in his face because he knows Bryce is walking into a propeller.
But the sequence of events gets worse because Bryce feels a strange moral obligation to inform Trinity of his master plan before he executes it. He pulls Trinity aside, utilizes love-bombing language, tells her she's beautiful, that she's his priority, his absolute number one, and then in the same breath drops the bomb that he is going to pull Kata to explore a connection.
And Trinity's response.
Mm-hmm.
It belongs in a museum. She doesn't cry. She doesn't beg. She looks him dead in the eye with utter clarity and says, I'm not fucking with it. I was cheering. I was standing up in my living room.
It was a masterclass in boundary setting and refusing to accept breadcrumbs. But we need to analyze Bryce's true motives here. Why engineer this specific disaster?
My theory, I think Bryce never actually liked Trinity. I think he was utilizing her as a safe harbor to survive the early recouplings. He coasted on her genuine affection, and the exact second she asked for a return on that emotional investment for real affection, he bolted because the cost became too high.
I'm going to push back on that assessment. I don't think it's a simple cost-benefit analysis. I argue Bryce does possess genuine feelings for Trinity, but he is governed by a severe avoidant attachment style.
Interesting.
The moment Trinity displayed real, secure feelings, it triggered his core fear of engulfment. His defense mechanisms flared up. So, he is intentionally orchestrating his own self-sabotage by chasing a girl, Kata, who he empirically knows will reject him. For Bryce, the predictable pain of being rejected by Kata is psychologically safer than the terrifying vulnerability of being truly loved by Trinity.
Oh my God. The psychology of that is so bleak, but it makes perfect sense. Here's my analogy for what he's doing. Bryce is treating his relationship with Trinity like a long-term rental car. He's been driving it comfortably, enjoying the ride.
Go on.
But the second the check engine light comes on, which in this scenario is Trinity simply asking for affection, he doesn't pull over to diagnose the issue or fix it. He literally shifts the car into neutral, drives it off a cliff, and jumps out the window.
That is exactly the mechanism at play. And the tragic result is that he is going to end up standing completely alone on the side of the road, wondering why he doesn't have a ride.
Which perfectly explains why the producers left us with that agonizing cliffhanger.
The absolute manipulation from the production team. The voting app mysteriously crashes, the tally is delayed, and we are left with a postponed recoupling ceremony, maximizing our cognitive load for another 24 hours.
I am genuinely mourning the fact that these poor girls probably spent 3 hours in the glam room, enduring the humidity, contouring their faces under bright lights, just to be told by a producer to wash it all off and go to sleep.
A total waste of Sephora products.
But structurally speaking, who do we think the public voted for? Obviously, the producers are going to engineer a sullen, sincere coupling.
Yeah. Sullen sincere is a statistical lock. Production requires that conflict to continue. I also highly suspect the public forced Kenzie and Caleb together, given her hypocritical behavior, and absolutely Jen and Gabriel, because the viewing public loves nothing more than to punish a hypocrite by giving them exactly what they asked for, ensuring it implodes spectacularly in the next phase of the experiment.
It is going to be absolute carnage. You know what we need to do? We need to index the delusion in this villa right now. Let's rank these islanders based on their current grip on reality.
I will initiate the Villa Delusion Index. Let's start with the extreme end of the spectrum, surprisingly grounded. Who has managed to maintain their sanity in the panopticon?
I have to award this to Trinity. For her to sit there, process Bryce spinning his convoluted web of avoidant nonsense, not internalize his rejection, and simply state, I'm not fucking with it, demonstrates a profound sense of self-worth. She accurately identified the manipulation and opted out.
I concur with Trinity. My addition to the surprisingly grounded category is KC. He acted as the sociological immune system of the house this week.
Yes, the immune system.
Physically intercepting Melanie on the stairs was an act of pure altruism. He rapidly assessed the threat level, calculated the social fallout of her delusion, and intervened. Extremely grounded behavior.
Totally. Okay, moving slightly down the spectrum, slightly delusional.
I place Melanie here, and I use the term slightly with deep empathy, but to operate under the belief that you can systematically fix a 29-year-old man who employs geographical loopholes to lie to your face about kissing another woman, that requires a heavy dose of delusion. She operates under the false premise that if she just articulates her feelings clearly enough, it will magically rewrite his character defects.
It's the classic, tragic, if I just love him harder, the sheer force of my devotion will cure his toxic traits delusion. It breaks my heart, but her hypothesis is fatally flawed. Okay, next category, hopeless romantic.
I am assigning this to Caleb. He enters a highly volatile ecosystem, converses with Kenzie for approximately 5 minutes, and immediately begins declaring that he falls hard and fast. It's an endearing trait in the real world, but it is an absolute liability in this specific environment.
He is operating with zero defensive shields. Kenzie is going to extract whatever validation she needs from him and discard him. Okay, the critical category, walking red flag.
Gabriel. Without hesitation, he treats the arrival of new women as an all-you-can-eat buffet, completely disregards the emotional ecosystem of his existing partner, and lacks the basic empathy to understand why his actions cause friction. He operates purely on the id.
And Corbin. Corbin is a walking red flag because he fundamentally misunderstands how human connection works. He believes, can I have a kiss? Functions as a valid substitute for building rapport. He relies so heavily on the halo effect of his physical attractiveness that he has never developed the underlying software of personality. Red flag.
Finally, the apex of the index. Professional chaos creator.
Sincere. He weaves a web of deception when honesty would require significantly less caloric energy. He's actively managing 5 different narratives, pitting women against each other, and watching the social fabric burn. He manufactures chaos because the resulting confusion keeps him in a position of power.
I will counter with Zach. Sincere's chaos is largely a byproduct of his own narcissistic desire to avoid accountability. Zach's chaos, however, is calculated, intentional sabotage of others, actively dismantling your best friend's relationship out of sheer spite, utilizing triangulation and isolation tactics against Trinity. Zach is a Machiavellian chaos creator.
His tactics are terrifying. Okay, if we were given producer control right now to completely restructure the social dynamics of the house for maximum psychological impact, who are we forcing into a couple? I'll go first with my proposal for couple swap court.
The floor is yours.
I am arguing vehemently that Saul and Melanie need to couple up, completely excise Sincere from their dynamic, and govern the villa as a matriarchy.
A radical paradigm-shifting approach. Outline the behavioral benefits of this union.
Listen, if you map out the stress vectors in that house, Sincere is the central node causing all the localized anxiety. He is actively utilizing the divide and conquer strategy, making Melanie and Saul view each other as the primary threat.
Right, he pits them against each other.
Exactly. If Melanie and Saul experienced a moment of clarity and realized the problem isn't the competing female, but the man orchestrating the competition, they could pool their social capital. Imagine the sheer psychological devastation Sincere would experience if he walked out to the daybed and saw them sharing a coffee, completely unified. His entire power structure would collapse instantly.
It would completely neutralize his leverage. A fascinating theoretical model. My proposal for couple swap court is to engineer a union between Kenzie and Gabriel.
Oh my God, the sheer toxicity of that combination.
Yeah.
It violates the Geneva Conventions.
Precisely why it must happen. Let's defend the logic. They both operate with an insatiable need for external validation. They both demand massive circulating rosters. Put them together in a mutually assured destruction pact. Let them exhaust their manipulative energies on each other. By confining them to one toxic ecosystem, it purifies the rest of the villa, allowing the securely attached individuals to form actual connections while Kenzie and Gabriel engage in a perpetual cold war of wandering eyes.
It would be an incredibly high-stakes psychological thriller. But to balance the scales, who are we utilizing as the foundational, stable couple?
The data clearly indicates that Casey and Anya must be protected by the producers at all costs.
At all costs, yes.
Yeah.
Anya's conflict resolution advice is practically a hazard to public safety. She almost sent Melanie to the emotional guillotine.
She really did.
But her baseline intentions are communal and pure. And Casey is the most highly evolved, emotionally intelligent entity in the space. They provide the necessary baseline of normalcy required to accurately measure the absolute insanity of everyone else.
They are the control group in this chaotic experiment.
Which brings us to analyzing the subtext of this experiment. We need to perform a text message autopsy on the wildest interactions from this episode. Let's translate what was actually being communicated beneath the surface-level dialogue.
Let us examine conversation 1. Sincere and Melanie on the daybed, immediately following the exposure of the speakeasy kiss.
Okay, translating Sincere's actual unfiltered cognitive process while Melanie is demanding answers. If I utter the specific phrase, "you are my number one," her nervous system will regulate and she will cease yelling. If she ceases yelling, my immediate discomfort ends, and I can resume mentally planning my physical escalation with Saul without the burden of immediate consequence. Therefore, I will deploy whatever sequence of vocabulary causes her to straddle me, securing my alibi.
An incredibly accurate translation of verbal pacification. Now, conversation 2. Zach and Bryce on the dock during the triangulation phase. Bryce presents his manufactured doubts about Trinity. What is the subtext of Zach's response?
Decode his machinations.
Zach's internal monologue translates to, My primary connection with Kata is disintegrating, triggering profound feelings of inadequacy and loss of control. If I systematically dismantle your secure connection with Trinity, you will inevitably seek validation from Kata. Kata, who dislikes you, will reject you, thereby shattering your ego. Once you are broken, isolated, and single, you will be forced to rely entirely on me for social survival, mitigating my own feelings of isolation.
It is so deeply sinister. He is securing a trauma-bonded ally. Okay, conversation 3. Corbin and Melanie in the Say Less room, right before the disastrous kiss request.
Pretends late Corbin's methodology.
Corbin's actual thought process is simply, I possess a physical height of 6'4". Society has historically rewarded this trait with immediate compliance. Why am I currently required to expend cognitive energy discussing your long-term life goals to achieve physical intimacy? I have reached my conversational limit for the diurnal cycle. Please bypass the emotional connection phase and insert physical validation now.
He literally views verbal communication as a toll booth he is forced to pay to access the physical reward. It's a tragic miscalculation of social currency.
It really is. Okay, final thought experiment. The Soft Girl Survival Guide. If we were airdropped into this highly volatile psychological pressure cooker tomorrow, what is our exact survival strategy? I'll present my thesis first.
Please, detail how you plan to survive this environment without completely destabilizing.
Okay, my tactical gear. I am wearing a matching, highly expensive silk set that visually communicates I possess the aesthetic bandwidth to cry attractively.
Very important.
It needs to drape flawlessly when I am inevitably curled in the fetal position on a beanbag chair due to sensory overload. My daily ration. A continuously replenished heavy pour of peach white sangria in a chalice.
A vital coping mechanism for the inevitable cognitive dissonance.
My secret weapon. I am immediately forming an unbreakable platonic alliance with KC. I need him on a retainer as my designated executive function. I need him to physically intercept me when my impulse control fails, and I attempt to walk up the stairs to confront a man who is clearly gaslighting me.
You are recognizing your own behavioral flaws and outsourcing your impulse control to a more stable entity. Highly strategic.
Exactly. Who am I actively avoiding? Sincere. I cannot engage with a reality distortion field of that magnitude. He would confidently tell me the sky is neon green, and within 10 minutes, I would be apologizing for my flawed eyesight.
He would convince you.
And who am I pulling for a chat? Trinity. I'm not attempting to form a romantic coupling. I simply want to provide her with a secure emotional base and validate her reality after Bryce's psychological warfare.
A strategy heavily reliant on emotional regulation and outsourced logic. Very on brand.
Let's hear your hyper-analytical survival strategy.
My tactical uniform. I am draped in entirely monochromatic black, head to toe. I am visually mourning the inevitable loss of my own brain cells that will occur the moment I am forced to listen to Corbin attempt to construct a multi-clause sentence.
Oh my God.
My daily ration. Tequila. Straight. No ice, no citrus distraction. I require maximum efficiency to numb the sheer absurdity of the ecosystem.
A highly severe approach.
My secret weapon. A waterproof, highly durable notepad. I am utilizing empirical data collection. I am tracking Zach's triangulation efforts, mapping the precise geographical coordinates of Sincere's infidelity, and constructing a chronological timeline of Kenzie's hypocritical statements. I will possess the receipts necessary to dismantle their arguments during any group conflict.
Receipts.
Who am I avoiding? Kenzie. Because if my gaze simply drifts in the general direction of a male entity she spoke to once during an eclipse 3 days ago, she will initiate a smear campaign claiming I violated the social contract.
She absolutely will. She will orchestrate a town hall meeting to declare you a threat to her buffet.
Precisely. And who am I pulling for a designated chat? Zach. I am isolating him on the dock, and I am employing advanced interrogation techniques regarding his vendetta against Trinity. I am going to systematically break down his defense mechanisms until he verbally admits that his sabotage is merely a projection of his own profound insecurities regarding Kata.
I have to roast your strategy because you are treating a romantic reality show like you've been embedded in an undercover sociological sting operation. You're going to be pacing the villa with a red string murder board, connecting Kenzie's trauma responses to Sincere's panopticon kisses.
And I must roast your strategy because your entire survival hinges on a 25-year-old man, Casey, acting as your physical handler to prevent you from wandering into traffic. You are an absolute liability in a closed ecosystem.
I am fully aware of my own psychological shortcomings. I require a handler to navigate the red flags.
Acknowledging the deficit is the first step towards self-awareness.
Okay, Snark Squad, we have spiraled through the behavioral science of this villa for long enough. We need to hear your empirical data. Get in the comments, hit us up on the socials. First, which weekend love horoscope felt a little too psychologically accurate for you? Are you the Virgo packing your bags over a perceived syntax error? Or the Aries intentionally seeking out an adrenaline-fueled disaster?
We also require your assessment. Who is acting as the primary load-bearing pillar of the villa's narrative this week? Is Sincere's Machiavellian geographical deception keeping the plot moving, or is Zach's insidious covert sabotage the true engine of the drama?
Also, be completely honest with yourself. Would you actually survive a dry weekend at a dude ranch, stripped of your emotional support beverages? Because I am still not convinced my constitution can handle it. And lastly, what drink is officially winning the summer? Is it the peach white sangria? Let us know.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this deep dive into the absolute psychological madness of the villa. Please remember to engage with the algorithm, like, comment, subscribe, and share this deep dive with another snarker who desperately needs to understand the avoidant attachment dynamics at play.
And as we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We sit here and laugh at the chaos of the villa, at the panopticon of soul ties, and the paranoia of everyone watching everyone else. But isn't that exactly what modern dating has become?
It really is.
With read receipts, location sharing, and watching who views our Instagram stories, we have essentially built our own digital villas. We are all living in a panopticon of our own making, constantly surveilling and being surveilled, wondering if our situationship is adjusting their pants in the speakeasy of the internet. It's terrifying, really.
A profound and chilling sociological realization to end the week on.
We love you guys so much. Stay flirty, stay chaotic, and we'll see you on the Snark side.